Alright, I'm going to be demonstrating part writing using the steps that I've given in the part writing summary. Those steps are: number 1, determine the new bass note; 2, resolve common tones or keep common tones; 3, resolve tendency tones; and 4, parts A and B, part A being moving in parallel thirds or sixths or by contrary motion, and B being doubling the appropriate note. So if we make sure we get a good doubling by moving in the right kind of motion, it'll help us with our progression. I have here a progression in B minor that I'm going to be part writing. I will start by writing out the tonic chord using here closed spacing. Keep the voices relatively close together. Now the next chord is going to be a 6th chord, which is G major. Remember, step 1 is the new bass note. That one is going to be the G down here. And then I want to, step 2 is to keep common tones where I can. So here is one common tone, the B can stay in common, G, B, D, here's the other common tone. And then we don't have any tendency tones, actually we don't have any tendency tones until we get to the 5. So here I now move to step 4. I want to double the G, and I want to get there by contrary motion if possible. It works out nicely that the soprano note can go to G, and that's contrary motion of the bass. Now I'm going to move to the 2-6. The 2 chord is going to be C sharp. I guess I should include a key signature. I'm going to mark that the 2 is C sharp, but that bass note, because it's in first inversion, is going to be the 3rd of the chord, which is an E. So somewhere up in the chord I need to make sure I've got a C sharp. We'll get to that. But the E is first, it's the new bass note. Number 2 is common tones. So do I have any common tones? C sharp, E, and G are the notes of the chord. There is a G in the soprano, so I'll keep that if I can. And then step 4, skipping step 3 because there's no tendency tones, but step 4 is to move the other voices contrary motion, get a good doubling. Now remember, with diminished chords, they are typically in first inversion, and we typically double the bass note, which is the 3rd of the chord. So I'm going to want E. E can go up here in the alto. That actually gives us similar motion, but it's a different kind of motion. It's different intervals. That doubles the correct note. And then the other note that I need is the C sharp, which can go here in the tenor. Now the next chord, we now have a 5. The 5 in the key of B minor is going to be F sharp. To get to the rest of the 5, step 1 is the new bass note, we got that. Step 2, common tones, I want F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp, so I do have the C sharp, which could be a common tone there. And then step 3, tendency tones, we don't have any yet, except that we're going to when we have the 5 moving to the 6. Moving notes by contrary motion and getting the appropriate doubling. I want another F sharp, and I would like to get it by contrary motion to the bass. So that fits nicely in the soprano, with the soprano moving down. Now we may have a tendency to want to move the soprano up to A sharp, but that would give us an augmented second, and so we can't do that because it's a melodic interval that's awkward to sing. So we're going to avoid the augmented second, avoid the F sharp or the A sharp in the soprano, and instead have it go down to F sharp. What that means is that these voices, the alto for example, is also going to have to go down. The only note that the alto can go down to is the C sharp. Well, then we don't have an A sharp. So now I need to go back and correct this tenor note. It's going to have to go down to the A sharp. And remember that since this is a major 5 in a minor key, that we do need to raise that leading tone. So there, that's gone down to the A sharp. So we didn't end up able to keep the common tone, but it got us contrary motion and a good doubling anyway, by having those voices move down the opposite direction as the bass. Now I'm going to go from 5 to 6. 5 to 6 we have to be careful of because that's a second. Remember, when chords are related by second, they don't have any common tones. So we're going to skip step 2 this time, but we need to do step 3, which is the tendency tone. So the leading tone, scale degree 7, is going to need to go up to the tonic note. There it is there. Normally with chords related by second, we want all of the upper voices to move the opposite direction as the bass. In this case, that's a little bit different. We have parallel thirds here, and what's going to happen is our doubling is going to be different in the 6. I'll show you how that works. Now I take this doubled F sharp. I want this F sharp to go the opposite direction, so I'm going to bring it down to the D there. So I got a G, B, D. The C sharp is then also going to have to come down, and this is where we get the other doubling. So now we're doubling the B, which is the third of the chord. Notice that that's the tonic note. So we've got the 5 chord, which wants to go to the tonic note, and it's going to go there in 2 voices. That's going to be doubled, but that's the third of the 6 chord. So we want to double the third whenever a 6 chord is following 5. And there we have a complete progression with the contrary motion there and the resolved leading.